You guys have been able to get out to a few fast starts this year. What do you think has been the key to doing that so often?
I guess you guys feel like some of the starts are faster than I do. I'd say that the short answer is all sides of the ball have played well together. I can think of a game or so where one side of the ball or the other didn't start as fast as perhaps I would have liked, but the thing is the other two probably did, and so then I think that helped fill in for the other. I can think of cases where it wasn't, but we've tried to, we've emphasized it, and that's something that's easier said than done.
Cole said you had the offensive line guys doing up downs late in the game. What was the reason behind that, and do you think they kind of improved after doing that again?
Well, the game ended shortly after that. If you can't move the ball, if you can't move the ball 1 foot on 4th and a foot, offensive linemen and running backs, they'll probably do up downs again. 4th and a foot. I think we're in a state of constant improvement, constantly trying to get better, and anytime you're out there, game or otherwise, it's an opportunity to get better. If we don't move it 4th and a foot, I'll be mad again.
What are your thoughts on Sam Darnold and Clay Helton's offense coming in here? There's some similarities to what you do and what they've had so far this season.
He's a good player. I think he's mature. We're just kind of really mentally together for a guy that's his age. He's big and the ball comes off his hand good.
When you watch him, do you feel like this is an NFL caliber type quarterback?
Oh, I think he could be. I don't think he is today. I get a kick out of everybody thinks one 18-year-old after the other's ready to go to the NFL. I think that's laughable, and at the rate we're going with that. Just for 1 year. Now, there would be some casualties, and those would be those 18-year-olds that selected to go. And it would be brutal. And and it would be terribly brutal. And it would literally destroy some lives, too. But for 1 year, just so we get it out of our system, 1 year, they ought to let any 18-year-old that wants to go try out for the NFL. And we'll see how it goes. You know how many will make it? None. The only one that might would be something like a kicker or a punter. And it's just insane. Those guys would get crushed. And it wouldn't be by some narrow, passive little margin. And it's different than baseball and basketball. There's a point in the NFL where the brutality of the game is such that you don't just, come out of Molly Putz High School and wander in there and say, here I am because I can run the 40 fast. They'll blow his little ass up so fast. And first of all, they're not going to let most of them even to tryouts. And all this business of, but I think basketball and baseball is a different sport. And I think they're in some rare occasions a guy can do that. Kobe Bryant did it, so they act like, well, everybody. No, Kobe Bryant can do it. Not everybody can do it, And then, no, those guys would get crushed. And the thing is and because freshmen aren't good enough, in most cases, the vast majority of cases, to start on a real good college team. And those that are truly distinguish themselves. But a true freshman go out there. Well, I'm going to go to the NFL. Well, I'm ready to, I'm a professional. No, there ain't nothing professional about you. You're a kid that runs fast and shows some promise, and maybe you'll develop. You might, maybe. We'll see. So that's what I think on that.
Coach, USC had a road game at Cal last weekend, and they come back short week and come back up here. Is it tougher for the away team to have to deal with that than you guys with the short week where you guys have been at home for 4 straight weeks?
I don't know, maybe. Cal's not a long flight from LA though. Our flights tend to be longer, but I don't know, what is it, LA to San Francisco, an hour and a half, is that what it is? And then, they're going right to the plane. I think generally speaking, yes, but, it wasn't, it's not just a brutal distance.
What's the toughest thing to deal with as a head coach with a shorter week?
Getting it all in on the front end. To be really effective, you have to have everything in. So you install it, the first 2 days. And so getting it all in, getting through all the film and making the choice on plays you're going to run, things like that.
How well do you think the team thus far has done in shutting out the outside noise and hype surrounding this game?
Hard to say. It just started. Hopefully good. We've only been at it for a few hours here.
Thinking back 9 years ago, do you see any similarities in the significance of this game potentially between that and Texas Tech 9 years ago in Lubbock?
No, not really. Each game's different. Each one's the next one. Just try to do the best you can.
Kind of branching off that, I know you guys are focused week-to-week basis, but with it being such a big game and a national TV exposure, do you get that this could be helpful for the program in the future as well?
Well, that's all well and good, but the thing is we go out there, there's nothing being held back. We go out there and practice from day one and practice as hard as we can, work as hard as we can, call the best plays we possibly can, coach the best we can. Players do drills the best they can. You develop the skills, your skills the best you can, and you go out there and play the best you can. It's not like there's some holdback or we got some special package or we're digging deeper in the closet. No, I got these reserve charges of effort and focus that I haven't bothered to mess with because these other games somehow weren't as important. If you're ever going to improve, you better be on full steam all the time, and that full steam better change to the positive as you continue to work.
Coach, how do you guys think you stack up with USC's interior on both sides of the ball?
We're about to find out, but they're big, strong, and physical. That's kind of what they're known for, and that's what they've always been. What is it, the Rambling Herd or whatever? So they're big, strong guys, but we got big, strong guys too. So.
Other than the incident that led to the up-downs, have you been happier with the offensive line play last week?
I think we started really good last week. I thought we started really good. I think we're a little inconsistent. One thing with And offensive line I didn't think was great. I thought the backs were worse on that particular play, if you want to isolate it to that play. The biggest thing is we got to be consistent. We're not real consistent if offensive line, if one guy makes a mistake, it exposes the whole group. That specific play, which is past and irrelevant, but, backs probably had a bigger role in that particular play than the line did, but they had a role in it.
This was the game 3 years ago that Luke kind of took his first meaningful snaps for your program. What do you remember about how he handled himself in that situation, coming in for Connor and seemingly playing a pretty respectable game?
It was very sudden. It happened very suddenly, and then as he settled in, I thought he played real well. And and then, of course, he went on to play more and more from there. That was kind of his starting point, really.
With over 40 players from California, you see some of the guys maybe playing with a chip on their shoulder with USC, maybe overlooking a few of your players. Does that come up at all where guys just want to play harder because they're playing their hometown team?
I don't know. They need to be just focused on their job, doing their job, playing as hard as they can at what they're coached to do. If they do a good job of that, and if they do a good job of focusing just on that, they'll be better off no matter where the other team's from.
Let's go questions on the phone line for Coach Leach.
Yeah, Mike, it's Steph. Of the 14 sacks that you guys have given up so far, how much do you think of that was on the O-line? How much of it was maybe on quarterback indecision or something else?
I think they're all on both, and I always have, and a few of them could even go so far as the receivers, as far as not having separation and being open. I've always thought sacks are definitely, with rare exceptions, sacks are always on, not just the O-line. I think a lot of times people point fingers at the O-line. It's the O-line. It's the O-line. I think the quarterback's got a role in that too, and then, in some cases receivers, and then of course backs if they're involved in the protection too. So I think as a team, I think the O-line, quarterbacks, and backs all have a role in it, and I think in some cases the receivers do if there's no separation, if there's nobody open.
Okay, and who would you say on the offensive line has played the best, I guess, through 4 games so far?
Well, hard to say. Last game, I guess we felt like it was Dillard. Probably Cole overall.
What has he showed you?
Just the biggest thing is he's just kind of a passionate guy, and goes out there, his very best plays. He plays extremely hard and has a real good intensity to him. I think that the O-line draws from that some, but again, I think we need to be a more consistent unit, and we're fighting to do that.
Okay, and with Renard Bell, I mean, what did you see? Did you see anything from him in Thursday Night Football last year that indicated that he might be, one of the answers at the inside receiver position this season?
Well, we thought he was good, but where he really broke out was during bowl prep. He first started to really break out during bowl prep, got even better during spring football. So we've seen it coming for a while, but I would say Thursday Night Football, just little flashes. Bowl prep, we saw, he really kind of showed that he's going to be a really good player.
What exactly did you see in bowl prep? Like, what was it that he was flashing?
He's just putting it together. You weren't having to line him up. His routes were more precise. He'd logged enough snaps where he knew, really execution. I think his execution improved, and so rather than thinking about things going slower, he was explosive and fast as he ran his routes, explosive and fast as he went upfield, and then over time, quarterback's more familiar with him, even though, Luke hadn't thrown to him much. I mean, Tyler had started to log some throws with him and things, and so then, and so I just think he evolved as a player. I mean, prime example, second year he's ready to go. I mean, and the difference between coming out of high school and coming out of high school and right now is huge, and it hadn't been that long, but the preparation was huge.
Okay, and finally, have you had any discussions with the team or even as a staff about, the NFL protest yesterday and how some teams didn't come out for the anthem? A lot of guys chose to take a knee.
No, I have not. First of all, we're in the locker room during the national anthem, together as a team. To me, it's not very clear what's even being protested. I've never heard a real clear articulation of what's being protested or what's objected to. So I don't know exactly the issue, but me personally, I'm proud of this country, and I would stand for the national anthem and respect the flag. But with that said, I don't know exactly what they're objecting to, and I'm anxious to hear what specifically it might be.
Well, this weekend, I think it was to do with the president's comments about how they should stand for the anthem and the ones who don't should be fired.
Well, that's not exactly what was said, but I still don't understand what that has to do with the flag.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the line for Coach Leach? Okay, back in the room.
Talking with Cole, Cole and Jamal kind of harped on the Apple Cup sort of having that noise, that outside noise that I know you talk about and you want the players to ignore. They thought that seeped in a little bit last year prior to that game. How do you feel like the guys are doing entering this game, as that noise will obviously build up with what is a top 15 matchup here at Martin Stadium?
If we listen to any noise, it'll damage us. If we don't, it'll help us, I mean, it's about as simple as that. And, and nobody around here is worried about the Apple Cup. We're focused on, you only get to play one game a week, and so we're focused on that game. So,
do you feel like just over time, though, that is something, an experience that teams need to get used to and be familiar with, that over time these big games aren't necessarily big games anymore, and that normalizes over time when you have more of those guys go through that experience?
Yeah, experience might help, but you just need to have the mental toughness and the mental discipline. And, if you're a tough team, you just focus on your job, I mean, you can add all the extra pieces you want. I mean, she talked about the, people kneeling on the sideline and things. I mean, that's all well and good, but, the noise, well, I mean, it can be anything. The noise, whether it's kneeling on the sideline, whether it's, somebody writes a nasty article, or somebody writes a glowing article, or, whether you listen to your relatives or what. I mean, if it doesn't have something to do with blocking and tackling and your job, then you're focusing where it should be,
Coach, a lot of players got into the game against Nevada. How do you see your depth overall, offensively and defensively?
A work in progress, trying to get better, trying to get more. I think some guys are developing, some guys are doing better. I mean, they can do more than they could a week ago, but you're never perfect. Whoever's the deepest team in the country is trying to get more,
Do you feel that some of those players that were second string that came in are capable of handling their business on the field?
I mean, the best one is always the best one you got. So from that standpoint, they're all capable of it. If you shear about 3 layers off, whoever's on layer 4, he's capable. He's the guy you got.
Both these teams have kind of had different games where they battled back or had to show resiliency. I guess with USC playing Cal last week, kind of having to hang on. What do you see this game coming down to?
I think we just have to have the discipline to focus on individual plays. Just, just focus on plays. I mean, that's the sum total of the plays is how everything comes out in a game, and so we just have to have the discipline to do that and keep it that simple.
Are you excited to see your team kind of compete against a top 5 team in the nation?
Well, I'm excited about all of them. I mean, you get 12 regular season, then a couple extras, so we're excited about all of them, and that's why I think on any given week you should distinguish only that team, because you only get one a week, and you consider, I mean, at a minimum, you worked all off season, all camp, all up to this point for the opportunity, and then in most cases, these guys have worked since junior high for, to maximize, one increment of this year. So, I think that needs to be understood, and we got to get the most of it.
Anything else for Coach?
Just going to say, I mean, Martin Stadium already sold out. Is there an experience, I guess, in your tenure here that was the loudest that you've had here at Martin Stadium, and what are you expecting from the fans, and how much do you appreciate knowing that it's going to be as ruckus of a crowd as it should be for this type of game?
At the home team, it's always hard to tell how loud it is. It's always hard to tell how loud. So I don't really know on that one. As a visitor, that's where the visitors do a far better job of evaluating how loud a stadium is. When I was at Oklahoma, I knew we were kind of loud. Okay, then when I was at Tech and we played at Oklahoma, I realized Oklahoma was real loud, So Yeah, so I mean, that's a better question, honestly, for the visitors, because you get locked in and you just kind of do your thing. But, you know, like I'm good at telling you how loud the stadiums we play in are rather than ours. I mean, we're regarded as loud. You know, we're regarded as a loud stadium, according to people I talk to. I think in this conference, you know, the loudest is Oregon, and then after that, maybe Utah.
And then, I was just gonna ask, and then thoughts on just playing Friday nights and having that switching.
Well, we're excited to play anytime you play. I think Fridays are for the high school game, and I think we should do everything we can to respect that.
Coach, in regard to USC already playing 3 Power 5 schools, is there an advantage to that since you guys have already played one, or is that kind of?
Who knows? You know, I mean, I've actually tried to think about that both directions, a variety of ways over the years, and so then about 10 years ago, I didn't get anywhere, so I stopped doing that.
Coach, it's in your Texas Tech days and now WSU, do you feel this defense has the potential to be one of the better defenses you've ever had as a head coach?
We're still developing. I mean, I think we play fast. We play fast and run to the ball. And, you know, that's where defensive production starts. So we're off to a good start. And we're in pretty good position to improve at it, you know, because if you run to the ball well, I mean, you can do some good things.
Seems like a lot of people are taking this quarterback class in the Pac-12 as one of the best in recent memory. Can you think of a class of QBs in this conference, or maybe the Big 12 that maybe stacks up Texas Tech? Or
Yeah. You know, there was one, and I just forget all of them. You know, they go in kind of streaks. It's almost like the running backs and the quarterbacks switch off. I mean, it's like you'll have a big running back year, then you have a big quarterback year. Yeah, what was it in the Big 12? It was, there was a time when there were a bunch of them. Well, I mean, it was something like, I'm trying to think when Bradford was there, but you know, there's a point where it's like Graham Harrell, Sam Bradford, Vince Young, or else Colt McCoy, one of the two. The guy at A&M was supposed to be pretty good, McNeil. I'm trying to, and then I think that's when Chase Daniel was at Missouri. I don't know. I could have these years all out of whack, but yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's kind of like the running backs and the quarterbacks running packs. You know, all of a sudden, then there will be a running back here. When I first got in this conference was loaded with running backs. I mean, you know, running backs everywhere. You know, somebody's second team running back was a hell of a player, except ours. But and then anyway, but it's funny how that goes.
Last chance for Coach. Go ahead, Lindsay.
What do you think about people who think the earth is flat and not round? Flat earthers?
They think it's flat and not round?
Yeah, like conspiracy theorists that think the earth is really flat and not round.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I've certainly had discussions with a lot of people that their logic suggests that they probably think the earth is flat, and then, you know, you have no basis to talk because you're just arguing definitions the whole time. I mean, you know, unless you can at least agree that it's one way or the other. I mean, there's not really a great deal you can talk about after that because, but you run into a lot of people like that nowadays. I'll tell you, it's funny how that thing goes because I just, as you mentioned that, I just thought of, you know, one time we were coming back, we were on a jet, we had to go from the bowl announcement, a bowl announcement in Florida all the way back to Texas. Dark in Florida, we get on the plane and got in this transition period where you're halfway, where the plane had gone fast enough that it caught to where the sun was light again, you know, and you got this weird transition to the thing where dark, getting brighter, and then, you know, sort of dusk, sun's out, you know, sun's getting ready to go down pretty quick, but, and we caught the thing, which was a weird sensation. Well, I mean, like a lot of things, they're just wrong, and if everybody had thought how they had, America never would have been discovered, but they'd be living happily somewhere, I'm sure, but it might be a little crowded.